Pastor's 3 ingredients to build muscle fast. This year, I've been able to add 4 to 5 pounds of muscle to my own body. I've also added an inch on my arms, and all of my clients have been able to set records every time they hit the gym. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the exact process that I follow to do this myself and with my clients, and then how you can do the exact same thing without piling on a bunch of junk volume or spending endless hours in the gym and without stalling out. So here's the problem. I was trying to grow by doing more. Early on in my coaching career, my clients would plateau within a week or two. So they would start this progress, they'd start adding weight to their lifts, and then in almost no time at all, they would just stall out. And so the fix that I had was just to do more sets. The term for this is adding volume. So we would add volume, we would do more sets. And my logic was, well, if I do more, if I have them do more in the gym, then they're gonna build more muscle, right? That's what would make sense. The problem is that's not exactly how it works. So I thought that this volume automatically meant more muscle, but instead we were creating too much fatigue and damage to recover from. Now, fatigue causes damage, and maybe this is a topic for a different video, but when your muscle is not torn down and built back bigger, that's not how it works. But it does work because as you fatigue your muscles, they have different things that happen. There's processes in the body, and that breaks down your muscles. So that causes damage. Now, imagine if you were playing tug of war, and you had 10 people on your team, and one of them sprained his ankle. Now, he may still try pulling, but he's not at the ability that he was beforehand. So now that your ninth man, your first man, whoever he is, now that one of your guys is wounded, once he's injured and damaged, now you as a whole line of people are not as strong as you once were. And that's exactly what happened. So in my mind, I was like, man, you're not progressing, you're not adding any strength, you're not able to either add more weight on the bar or do more lifts. So what we need to do is add more sets. Makes sense. Until you realize that all you're doing is that every set you do in the gym, you're adding more damaged muscle. So it's like, one guy has a sprained ankle, but then you twist somebody else's arm and you snap somebody else's leg, and eventually by the end of the workout, you've broken all of your muscles, and now there's not as much to pull. Everybody's injured, and you've added and added and added and added and added more damage without ever giving yourself time to recover from that. So more volume did not automatically mean more muscle, and I didn't understand that. So the result of this was slower progress, stalled lifts, and sometimes even regression. So they would start out strong, they'd be adding weight on the bar, adding reps, sometimes both. Then they would hit this plateau. I would tell them, do even more. And then instead of getting slowly stronger, they would actually sometimes even regress and get weaker. Now, personally, I did this myself too. And I took this to a whole extreme. So I heard volume is king. Doing more sets equals better return, more reward. So what I did was, in my infinite wisdom, I started doing 6 sets of everything to failure with 10 to 20 rep sets. And so by the time I was done, I'd hit every muscle in my body 6 sets. My workouts could be anywhere from 20 to 40 sets by the time I was done with it. They would take all the way up to 2 or 3 hours if I was really going in and going hard. And that just was not recoverable. And I definitely regressed. All of my strength dissipated. I did not get stronger there. I got a lot weaker. And by the way, if you want a copy of this, if you want these 3 ingredients that I'm going to give you in just a minute, then you can learn more about building muscle as a pastor. You can hop in. It's called school.com/fit-pastor-blueprint. If you go there to this link, then this is going to give you everything that you need, including 3 workout programs that actually boil everything I'm about to say. It bakes in, and you can just copy and paste that into your own fitness program. So here's the steps that I took. Instead of just adding more, instead of just doing more, here's the 3 ingredients I used to fix it personally, then also for my clients who always are setting new records. So the number 1 is a baseline. And you have to establish a baseline. You got to figure out where you actually are. It's kind of like if you were to do a budget, then you know how much money, you have to know how much money is coming in each month so that you can allocate that to where it's going out each month too. And if there's any left over, then only then you can add it into savings or investing or whatever. You have to have a baseline for your budget. Same thing is true for your fitness. You have to have a baseline. So if in your baseline you've not figured this out yet, here's how you do it. You just find your 5 rep max or your 10 rep max. And all this means is you figure out how many reps you can, or how many pounds you can move each exercise to cap out at 5. So it's called a 5 rep max. And this is not it's not if you can do 5 reps. It's what weight caps you out at 5 reps. So what weight is so heavy that you could not do 6? You figure out your 5 rep max, or if you want, you can do a 10 rep max. A lot of my programs do 10 reps. You can do 5 or 10. I would say this, if you have more injuries or if you're just now getting into fitness, I would recommend you use a 10 rep max because this is going to be a little bit safer, a little bit easier to figure out, and a little bit lighter too, so it doesn't feel quite as heavy your first time in. So figure out the highest weight you can use to cap out at 10 reps, meaning you could not do an 11th. There's no way you could push that bar up an 11th time, or no way you can, kick your legs out an 11th time using that weight, the top weight that you can use to get 10 or 5 reps. And you're gonna do that for each lift. So if you have 3 different exercises in your program, if you have 6 different exercises in your program, you're gonna do that 3 or 6 different times that day. So suppose today is upper day and you have your chest press, you have a row, you have biceps and triceps and shoulders. That's 5 exercises. You're gonna do this 5 or 10 rep max finding 5 times, once for each exercise, once for each lift. Now, once you've established a baseline, this essentially gives you your strength level, and it shows you how much you can use given the machinery that you have, how much weight you can use for those reps. Once you've figured out your baseline, now it's time for ingredient number 2, the RIR approach. So reps in reserve is what this means. Let me write that in there. Reps in reserve. And so another way to call this is just reps in the tank. So it's like if you go on a trip and you don't use all the gas in your tank, you still got gas in the tank. If you go to a workout and you still got reps in the tank, you got reps in the tank. That's what I'm saying. So you got to stop taking every set to failure. At my volume is king peak, when I was doing 6 reps of squats for 20 to failure each time, I was completely obliterated. It took me minutes and minutes and minutes to recover. Sometimes I just sit on the gym floor completely gassed and wiped, and there's no way that I could do more, but I had to do more because I wanted to grow more. You just don't worry about that. Stop taking every set to failure. What you need to do now that you have your baseline, is start leaving 1 to 2 reps in the tank. So instead of, suppose you did 100 pounds last week and you did that for 10 reps. You establish your baseline, your 10 rep max weight is 100 pounds. Now, this week, you need to leave 1 or 2 reps in the tank. So I would still use the 100 pounds from last week, but this week I'm gonna do 8 or 9 reps, not 10. Now, the problem is people think, well, if I'm doing less, am I gonna still see results? Because I'm going backwards, not forwards. I'm not adding more reps, which you would think would make you stronger. I'm not adding more weight to the bar. I'm still using the 100 pounds. How am I gonna progress like this? Well, the reason is reps in reserve actually mean you have less of this fatigue. And so as you create fatigue, it makes it harder for you to do the next exercise in that session. And then it also makes the next session less valuable if you're having more and more fatigue stack up. So it's kind of like you can choose to either get on your line of tug of war, you can only have 1 person with an injury, or you can have like 5 people with an injury. Which one would you rather? Right, we only want 1. So what this is gonna do is 2 things. Number 1, it's gonna decrease the amount of fatigue that we have. Now, when you go to failure, that creates a lot of fatigue. And that in turn creates a lot of muscle damage that you have to recover from before you're ready for your next time in the gym. Another thing is that they've done a lot of studies and they've found that leaving 1 or 2 reps in the tank does almost as much hypertrophy or muscle growth as going to failure. So you can't lift that last rep, that's fine. Don't. And then next time, leave 1 or 2 reps in the tank. So if you could only do 10 reps for 100 pounds, this time we're only gonna do 8 or 9 because you're gonna leave some in the tank. You have reps in reserve. But that's great. Where do we go from here? So I figured out my baseline last week. This week I've left a few reps in the reserve, but what do I do to progress past this week? How do I keep this progress going? Well, only add reps or weight when your body actually earns it. Now, here's kind of how you can make that work. So you're not gonna force your body to add more weight on the bar or more reps that you do. You can't make your body any stronger. You can't just will it into, Jesus says, who of you taking thought can add a cubit to your stature? You can't. Who of you taking thought can just add another rep to your workout or another 20 pounds to your lift? You can't. That's not how it works. You can't just force your body to be stronger. But you can let your body's natural hypertrophy processes happen, and then on the other end of that, you're gonna be stronger, and then you'll be able to add more reps or add more weight or even both. So here's how you do this. This is like the practical step. You need to work inside a rep range, and this is gonna be usually 4 to 8 reps. So this cuts down on fatigue because higher reps mean that you're gonna actually cause more fatigue and thus more muscle damage. You're gonna knock out more people in your tug of war line. It's gonna be harder for you to progress in the future. But if you keep a 4 to 8 rep range, this is a pretty safe area. You're not gonna be super fatigued. You're not gonna do so much work that it's hard for you to recover before the next session. But the problem is, if you just found a 10 rep max and you're now leaving 1 or 2 reps in the tank, so maybe you're using that same weight for 8 reps instead, now we're at the very top of that progression. So what do we need to do? We need to increase the weight so that we can only do 4 to 8 reps again. So basically what we do is when you hit the top of the rep range, 8, with 1 rep in reserve, so maybe you do 8 reps, but you could have done 9, then you just raise the weight and repeat. So basically, if I start with 4 reps and I have a pretty heavy weight and I can only do 4 reps with it, maybe I could do 5 and I'm leaving 1 rep off because we're remembering step number 2, the RIR approach. Then now, what I'm gonna do is wait until I have another rep in reserve. So I'm doing 4, this week I can do 5, but I'm only doing 4. Next week, maybe I'm stronger. So maybe I can do 6, but I only do 4. And I know that. I know I could do 6. I could definitely get 6 reps. Then now it's time to increase the number that I do to 5. So I can do 6, but I'm only doing 5. And then maybe next week I come in and I'm only doing 5, but I know I could do 7. I have 2 reps in reserve. Now it's time to increase the number of reps that I do to 6. So I'm doing 6, I could do 7, but I'm not. And then you just ladder up all the way until you're doing 8, but you know you could do 9. Now what happens is you've hit the top of that rep range. You've hit number 8. So now what do? You need to increase the weight to something that only allows you to do maybe 5 reps, but you're only going to do 4 because you are using the rep and reserve philosophy. And so you're just gonna work from 4, work up to 8, increase the weight, back down to 4. Up to 8, increase the weight. And over time, over 6 months of you progressing like this, you're gonna see huge changes in your strength. So that's the 3 ingredients. Figure out your baseline, then keep some reps in reserve, and then progress using the laddering up method that I just described. And that is all that you need in order to get seriously strong. So instead of adding more, instead of doing more, what happened once I changed to this 3 ingredient soup that I just described? Well, here's the outcome. I stopped spinning my wheels and started progressing again. It was amazing. My squat, instead of doing 6 sets for 20 reps to failure and being gassed out, passed out on the floor, being completely wiped, I was actually able to start increasing the weights and the reps that I was able to do again. I began adding weight or reps almost every workout. And not just every workout, but on almost every lift of every workout. And I've been able to do that for the last several years. My strength started climbing instead of stalling. And so instead of hitting plateaus every couple, 2 or 3 weeks, I was able to get stronger. I was able to increase the weights that I'm using. And then I've been able to take these principles and make this sentence true of a lot of the people that I've trained. Their strength started climbing instead of stalling. Some of the guys that have come to me have been doing fitness for a while, and they just keep hitting these strength plateaus until they start using the rep and reserve philosophy, until they start progressing with that laddering method that I talked about. And eventually they're starting to move past those plateaus, get stronger than they've ever been before. And over the last year, I've added about 4 or 5 pounds of muscle. And like I told you at the beginning, my arms grew about an inch. And the overall development improved big time. There's a lot of other lagging muscles that I've been able to bring up over the last year. And so I think visually there's a little difference there as well. So conclusion, more is not always better. If you add and add and add to your fitness and you think that that's going to help you, it's oftentimes just going to it's going to reduce your progress. It's going to get in the way, and it's going to become overwhelming, and not just overwhelming mentally, but also physically. Your body can't keep up. So recovery is often the missing piece. Then, if you want another takeaway, stop forcing progress with endless volume. Don't add more, and start earning it with small progression. Give your body time to change as it's developing and as it's growing. Then, just follow the process. Find your baseline, leave reps in reserve, and progress when your body is ready. And if you do that, you are going to get as strong as you can possibly get using those 3 ingredients to build muscle fast.